Counter-Strike is a game that has been with us for many years, since 1999 July 19. It may be an even older game than most of us. From the first day this game came out, our main guns were the Glock 18, Desert Eagle, USP, M4A1 and the AK-47. And until today, we still play with these guns every single day. Throughout the years, or may I say decades, there have been a lot of changes that shaped the game we're playing today. For an example, did you know that back in the day, all of the guns were named completely differently? Like the Desert Eagle was named Nighthawk 50C and the Glock 18 was called Cobra 18. Most of the guns, if not all the guns, were completely different when they first came out. We have different recoils now, damage stats, and above all, they all look differently now. Obviously, like all things in life that tend to evolve, Counter-Strike is no exception to that. So today we're going to talk about the biggest events in Counter-Strike gun evolution. To kick things off, I'm going to first talk about the Desert Eagle. This gun was in the original game beta and since then it has had a lot of changes. We know this gun as one of the best pistols in the game, and throughout the decades of Counter-Strike, Desert Eagle gave us a lot of satisfaction with its insane one-shot headshots and huge damage for a gun that only costs $700. The Desert Eagle in CS 1.6 was an amazing gun. You could say it was a bit overpowered since it had the possibility to shoot an unarmored person with only 2 shots in the body. You could have bought this pistol for only $650 and $40 a mag, because back then you needed to buy them yourselves in case you forgot about that. So if you couldn't afford to buy a normal gun, you could just whip out this bad boy and be able to compete with other teams that have full buy guns. In Counter-Strike Source, the Desert Eagle didn't change that much. I mean, you could say it had a different model. Oh, wait, I forgot. It completely lost its recoil. So it was perfectly balanced, of course. Now, moving on to Counter-Strike Global Offensive, the gun price changed to $700 and it was dealing more damage. You could kill a person with only 2 shots. Also, prior to the arms deal update in Global Offensive, the Desert Eagle had a dust color shiny finish, which was later changed to a chrome silver to match the finish in the previous games. Sadly, all good things have to come to an end, and on September 21st, 2021, game reduced body damage and now the Eagle can't kill you in 2 shots anymore. But it's still a great weapon of choice for echo rounds for those satisfying headshots, if you could hit at least one of them. Now, the second weapon I'm going to talk about is the Glock 18, or otherwise known as the Cobra 18, or the 9x19mm sidearm. This gun is a starting weapon for the T side. That is a good weapon in pistol rounds when people don't have any armor. Otherwise, this gun is a terrible choice, since it does 0 damage against armor, literally 0. In CSGO, this gun had quite a few changes. Probably the main change would be that it was made T-side only, because if you didn't know, on all their Counter-Strikes you were able to buy this weapon on CT side also. From 2013, this gun had its damage decreased 2 times. At one point this weapon couldn't even kill you from 3 shots to the stomach when you had no armor on. It had its damage reduced to 28, but thankfully from September 14th, 2017 until now, the Glock 18 does 37 damage to the stomach, so you can kill a person from 3 shots, obviously if that person had no armor on. Also, in this update there was some slight adjustments that favored accurate players who closed the distance to their opponents. This update increased base damage, as mentioned before, reduced the damage at longer distances, slightly improved accuracy while firing rapidly, and lightly improved accuracy while moving. Well, if we talked about the Glock 18, we must now speak about the USP, or also known as the K&M 45 Tactical. It's a counter-terrorist starting pistol that we use and love. Personally, I just want to mention that I love the way you headshot people with this gun. It's so satisfying. Okay, let's not get carried away. Let's get back to the topic. Like the Glock 18, you were able to purchase this weapon on both sides. Also, did you know that the USP that we couldn't imagine without a silencer would do less damage if we had a silencer on rather than off? Personally, back in the day I didn't know any of this, and on all their games I would always put on my silencer on the USP because I would like to act like a James Bond or an Agent 47. The gun stats didn't change that much throughout the course of CS, but one interesting thing about this weapon is that in earlier versions of Counter-Strike, this weapon was originally planned to be colored in black. However, the blue and purple color was used instead, although the real-life USP still retains its black finish till this day. Now, let's move on to the big guns. The big guns I'm talking about is the M4A1 silenced, also known as the Maverick M4A1 carbine. Well, with this one, the biggest change in the newer games is probably the ability to switch to an M4A4, but we're not going to talk about this one that much since the new M4 wasn't available in the older Counter-Strike games. The M4A1 in all versions of Counter-Strike was never able to one-shot its opponents. During the Counter-Strike Global Offensive era, the M4A1 had many updates since Valve tried to balance both of the M4s. So they had price changes, damage reductions, and buffs. For example, in 2019, the M4A1 silence had 25 bullets in the clip. The funny thing about comparing the silenced version of the USP and the M4A1 is that in Counter-Strike Source you did the same amount of damage if you had a silencer on the M4A1, whereas compared to the USP you did less. Also, here are some funny facts about the M4 and the older Counter-Strike versions. The sound of removing the suppressor is actually the sound of attaching the suppressor played in reverse. In some versions of Counter-Strike, the model of the M4's fire selector switch is actually turned to semi-auto, although the weapon fires in full auto. The AK-47 is an iconic Counter-Strike weapon that decorates the game logo, but did you know this weapon had a different name on the older versions of Counter-Strike? It was called the CV-47. This weapon is arguably the best choice on the T side when choosing a gun for a full buy. Throughout all of the Counter-Strike versions, the damage remained stable, so not too much to talk about here. But as we know, it has a huge perk over the M4A1 silenced, due to being able to kill a person one shot with armor. The AK is probably the least statistically changed weapon, probably because of how good and balanced it is, but it did have some visual changes. In the early Global Offensive development stages, the AK-47 had a light wood texture similar to the previous games. However, the light wood was changed to darker wood as development progressed. Now onto the last and the most legendary Counter-Strike weapon ever, the one-tap machine, the AVP. The funny thing about the AVP is that this gun is literally the same now as it was 20 years ago. The only thing that changed were its looks. But it also had some major changes like lowered scope movement values that at the time everyone thought killed the AVP, but we were able to recover from that. And on November 18, 2022, the AVP was nerfed again. It got 5 bullets instead of 10. But it didn't do that much damage as the previously mentioned update. Now, let me tell you about some of the less known things about the AVP. The AVP has 3 firing animations in Counter-Strike, each having a slightly different bolt pull angle. The AVP in Counter-Strike Global Offensive is supposed to have an all-black finish as shown in the launch trailer. However, this was later changed in the development of Counter-Strike Global Offensive. In older games, bots equipped with an AVP always switch to the pistol after firing 5 rounds, no matter how many rounds are available in their weapon. The AVP is the only weapon in Counter-Strike with the ability to kill an armored teammate instantly with a headshot. So, we talked about the main guns of the game. Obviously there were many more changes, but we just wanted to show you how much Counter-Strike evolved. It had amazing updates and managed to balance the game that we have here today. Well, obviously with CS2 there's some problems, but knowing Valve, we know that everything will be sorted out sooner or later. If you're still here, thank you so much. We hope you enjoyed this video and we hope that you will consider subscribing to our channel. If you want to check out our other videos, feel free to do so. And once again, thank you very much for watching and sticking with us throughout all of this video. We'll be seeing you on the next CS Chronicles video. Peace!